Hi, it's Scott from the Electric Recording Lab again. I wanted to follow on from previous video on pre-production and talk about the recording process as it typically works out for me here. And I think this works in general in most studios. So what I thought I'd do is just do an initial video where it's a bit of an overview of, dot points of the process as I typically do it, and then I thought I'd do some subsequent videos where I dig into each of the aspects a little bit more. That way you can use it how you see fit. You can watch them all, or watch, one that's relevant to you. If drummer, you watch stuff that relates to that or whatever. Anyway, I kind of see it as a 7-step process. Pre-production being step 1. Where we work out our arrangement and tempo and all those sorts of things, and we unpack the story of the song a little bit as we build, say, a demo of some sort. And then step 2 is we have a guide track, because what we do after this, we want to record against something. And that may involve the demo, and that's actually a pretty common thing. Or we might actually cut a guide, like an acoustic and a vocal or something like that. So we get our guide from our demo, we make a guide track, and then I would typically record drums first. Now, having said that, some people want to record with other musicians, and there's a few different, processes that we can go through to achieve that. We can use a guide, or we can, have the bass player and the guitar player. There's a bunch of different things we can do there. And I'll dig into that, I suppose, a little bit more in a video specifically about recording drums and how my process for doing that. But we want the drummer to be comfortable, and we want them to do a great performance. Drums are so central to most genres, popular genres, modern genres. So really important that we get that part right, sounding right, but also the feel of that right. So, we look at a bunch of different options there that suit the particular band and the particular drummer, as it may be. All right, so we've got our demo, we've done some pre-production, we cut our drums, and then we work on the rest of the rhythm bed. So that would usually involve doing the bass guitar, and then following that with guitars and keyboards and whatever else, that you have as your main rhythm bed. We want that gelled, we want that, to be a thing in and of itself, not a bunch of parts. Here's the drums, here's the bass, here's the guitars, here's the keys, and whatever else you've got in there, the bagpipes, if you're doing that. We want that to be the rhythm bed, right? And so that's what we're aiming for when we do all of these things. Getting that cohesive, locked together bed of music for our vocal to sit on. And that would be our next step. So what am I up to? We've done pre-production, we've got a guide, we've got drums, we've got our rhythm bed, all right? And so now I'm up to what I'm going to call step 5, where we record our vocal, main vocal, and we get that right. And there's a whole bunch of things we can do on that front. Nothing beats, however, a great performance. The digital audio age these days, there is a myriad of tools we have available to us. And it's not that we don't use those. I think I've got all of those sorts of tools to help me work vocals and get them just, right. But it is fantastic when it's a great performance, and nothing beats that. So, getting your singer ready, and we'll talk a bit about prepping for that sort of process as well. Because there's a few steps and things you can have in mind as you are approaching the vocal session, so that you're comfortable, relaxed, and ready to kind of really give it a performance that comes through in your final product for sure. So main vocal, and then the next step 6 is backing vocals. So that might be harmonies, and all the different things we can do there, and just additional vocal. You've got oohs and ahs and all those sorts of things that people put onto tracks. to pop choruses and do all the things that we do there. So they come after the main vocal because we're often lining them up with the main vocal, and they're kind of the icing on the cake, as it were. And then the last stage would be, what I would call additional elements. And they might be as simple, because you've got, the basics there. And at that point, we would have a pretty good rough mix going on. So you've got a good sense of how things are sitting in the overall track. And then we would look for, things of interest. What can we add? And that might be percussion, shakers under the chorus, might be shaker through the whole track. And, I was listening to an interview with Bob Rock the other day, and he was saying on the Black album from Metallica, he said there's shaker on every song. And it's buried in there. He described it as giving it the swing, but it adds to that rhythmic complexity. And it's a bit like, and we would use pads, like synth pads and things like that, sometimes in similar manner, where it's actually so buried in the mix that when you listen to a song, you don't go, there's a pad there, but when you mute it, you go, there's something missing. And it's a trained ear that would identify what's missing, because it just sort of adds some glue or a little bit of zing or pop to the, section that it's in. So there's a bunch of different things that we can think about at that point. Because as I say, we've kind of got the mix getting close to the end, really. There is the final stage, which is, where everyone goes away and I work on a mix and push the elements around and balance it up, but push things forward and in and out to sort of give them the interest or the spotlights that they need as the song progresses. And sometimes even in that, as you're kind of coming to a section, you go, man, I feel like the air comes out of the tires on the bridge. It needs a thing. It needs something to kind of keep it cohesive with the rest of the track. We haven't got it in there yet. It's a matter of finding what that is. And often they're really simple elements. In fact, I'm going to say often, almost always, they're really simple elements that just get buried in. I did on a recent thing where I was at the mix process, and it just was literally a 2-note guitar part, ding, 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 under a section that I had to tell the band about afterwards, and went, and I've done a guitar part in here, all right? And just, you can hear it when I pull it out, put it in, pull it out, and it adds a little bit of something. And no one's ever going to go, where's that ding, ding guitar part? No one's ever going to do that, but it just sort of gives that little section a bit of a lift, and it kept it a little bit cohesive, or more cohesive with the previous section, rolled it into the section that it went into. I think it was a bridge, and it went into a chorus from memory. So those sorts of things, right? They're the additional, little ear candy stuff that we would then do in that final stage as we're making our final decisions. As I say, even as part of the mix process, they would go in. Anyway, that's probably enough for now. I'll dig into each of the sort of various sections as are useful in separate little videos. Hope that's useful. Obviously, send me a DM or a comment or something on a particular section if you've got a point that you think is worth noting, and also pop it in, because it'll be useful for somebody else. All right, and that's the aim of these, is to be useful, to people who are about to embark on that recording process. So make good art, and we will see you out and about. Cheers.